All right. You've seen the presentation from Michelle earlier. It's pretty much our way of telling the whole industry, the whole ecosystem that we're more than just a tool for CAD. So you're going to witness some of the updates that have been going on for quite some time. I'm looking after the infrastructure technical specialist team, and I've been in the industry for almost 2 decades now. And what's good about this is I've seen how everything has evolved from the way we use tools, the way we use information, the way we communicate. And I think with the recent pandemic, we've managed to see how it accelerated the demand for doing things in better ways. So this afternoon, the team here, Leo, Sid, and John, are going to go through some of the updates for each industry that we serve. And by the way, Autodesk is in a unique position to serve multiple industries, the benefit of which allows our users to enjoy the best of all those worlds that we serve, namely design and manufacturing, media and entertainment, and of course, the architectural, engineering, and construction space. So let's begin. Let's take a trip down memory lane. I don't know how many of you have seen this scenario at the offices back then, but believe it or not, the norm was the image to your left would show you how people would I would say, capture their thoughts and their designs, regardless of what industry you were. And the image of the right is a far cry. And I think it just illustrates the amount of development that has been put in terms of how we work, how we use tools, and how we capture information in our imagination. So AutoCAD has been available in the market since 1982. And again, a trip down memory lane, you can see a floppy disk drive. So for those of you who are still in the academe and the university right now, you probably haven't seen any of these devices. You'd probably see them in museums or of some sort. But believe it or not, this is how we digitized ideas back then. And in 1982, of course, this system was developed for PCs. This means that AutoCAD has been around longer than a lot of the digitization tools that you are familiar with right now. Regardless if you're an electrical engineer, mechanical, or you're in the defense industry, if you want to digitize your ideas, AutoCAD was the go-to back then. Well, often when I tell people about Autodesk, it's either we get described as an automotive company or a furniture company, which is neither. Well, the best remark that I would probably get is, hey, you're the AutoCAD company, right? While it's true, Autodesk is much more than that. This year, it's already 2022, we're proud to celebrate the 40th birthday of AutoCAD, and the impact which I've spoken about and Michelle has spoken about earlier on, which is the future of making, can be traced back to 40 years ago by AutoCAD disrupting the whole design industry. Okay, so that's when the revolution actually began. When you talk about digitization, I'm constantly meeting new people who are re-experiencing Autodesk. What do we mean by this? Because right now they're just learning that we've done so much for the industry and yet we're doing newer things that they're just learning about. So for our old friends, welcome back. To our new friends, welcome to Autodesk. Now let's take a quick look at who Autodesk is today. So 40 years ago, Autodesk introduced AutoCAD and started creating software to help people with design challenges every day. We've been innovating ever since. And in the early 2000s, we introduced 3D modeling and BIM, Building Information Modeling based design. Today, we're developing tools for cloud-based BIM processes, as we call it, connected BIM. So now you've heard the first part of what I was talking about is being able to digitize your ideas and your engineering, your engineering concepts, right? We're now also including in that paradigm the connectivity via the cloud. So we call it connected BIM. So for our AEC customers, they use these tools to collaborate better, visualize, and manage their data from the office to field. So you're no longer just confined in front of your PC, because the ideas you create, the information that you author can now be connected to people who are geographically located somewhere else. They might not be in the same office, they might not be in the same organization, but they work with you on a project, because no project is delivered in isolation. And we're thinking about tomorrow, of course, and research and development is part and parcel of what we do in Autodesk. We introduce disruptive technologies and processes that will change the landscape of the future. If you aren't familiar with Autodesk, anything and almost everything in the built environment are touched by our tools. And you can see the main industries that we play in. And as a reminder, we're more than just AutoCAD. We're enabling people to create a better world through the tools and the technology that we have introduced 40 years ago and that we continue to develop and further. We make software tools that help our customers design and make anything from skyscrapers, building components, bridges, cars, blockbuster video games, and anything and everything in the built environment. And to take us through a journey that describes how we have disrupted the industry and we continue to disrupt the industry for design and manufacturing, I'll have to call on my friend Leo to explain more about this.
Thanks, Noah. So today I'll be covering the design and manufacturing segment, where Autodesk can help you to be more efficient and effective. On to the next slide, please. Over here itself, you can see that this is a typical workflow in the manufacturing world. It kicks off with the conceptual ideas and slowly progress down through the different phases. However, for us at Autodesk, we do understand that not all customers start off and end off at the same stages. Therefore, we do have different features to cater to your unique workflow. Next. For this example over here, Autodesk Generative Design Technology helps General Motors, GM, to design a seat bracket that's 40% lighter and 20% stronger than the original parts. And it also consolidates 8 parts into one. Therefore, essentially, you are looking to a breakdown of your existing assembly into critical design elements where the geometry that you require can keep in, where you specify the loading condition that your final design outcome would like to withstand on. And this allows you to let the system generate more than 100 options that you can start to choose from their unique design. Imagine what this is possible when this kind of technology is applied to the entire vehicle and supply chain. Next. Many of our customers are enjoying the benefit between the 2D and 3D design in their workflow. And these are the top 3 workflows that I love to share with all of you, which is moving 2D data to 3D, flexible manufacturing documentation, and automation of the modeling processes. Let's take a closer look at individual stages. You may ask yourself how easy it is to create a 3D from a 2D part. Right now, with Autodesk application, it's probably easier than you think if you have not seen it or tried it. Because for us, right, we are able to make full use of your existing DWG files, which is in 2D, and create it into a 3D model where it remains in sync to the changes that you make to both 2D and 3D files, whichever you choose to change. And this is a good option, not just for associativity, but you also know the measurements that those measurements will be accurate. Next. And the beauty of creating your manufacturing drawing is no longer that you are forced to start on a particular CAD software. If you are comfortable using a 2D software, you can simply just keep the particular standard in the 2D software itself, and when you are making changes to this software, the changes to your model, right, those will be reflected to your 3D model. Yeah, so it does not really matter which one you make changes to. On to the next part. And when making decision to move into 3D, one of the key areas that the customer think of is the automation, because this is where you can build the parameters and formulas that can drive your design intent. This is where you can build some intelligence into your model, and when changes are needed, it will behave as expected. And more than that, the 2D drawings, right, will remain up to date when you are making changes to your 3D model. Most of the users, right, do understand how the relationship works, and this one will definitely ease onto the communication portion. Next. And to take things further onto the automation part with the iLogic technology, because for many instances, you are able to place in the formulas for your different parts of all assembly that varies in size or contains different components. Imagine this. Instead of redrawing them, establish your engineering rules. Create a form where everybody is able to access and drive your design from there. And that's where the Autodesk Forge platform allows you to look into all these areas as well. Next. And we do understand that you might be getting file formats from various counterparts, such as your supplier or your customers. If you're having translating from one CAD system to the other, fear not, because using the Autodesk system itself, you are able to import the files and make changes to it using the AnyCAD technology in Inventor. Simply just open up the files, and Inventor is able to manage the associativity linked to it. Therefore, if there's any changes that's being made, the model will simply update on its own. And talking about communication-wise, right? How are you communicating your design review with others? This can be achieved in different formats, such as walkthrough or creating real-life pictures or animation. Let's take a look at those. Design review can be established in any CAD system, but what happens if you have a model which contains hundreds of thousands or even millions of components? This is where Navisworks shines, and these applications, right, is built not only for design review and walkthrough, but it also helps you to detect clash detection between models that have been imported from all the CAD system. It even syncs the equipment to your project management software to simulate the installation process. All this can be established while the entire model stays in sync and when changes are made to the CAD data. On to the next slide, you can see that the screen capture of the models are useful to understand what the product looks like. Everybody knows that it's better than the 2D drawing. So imagine using all this, right? You can able to define the display texture, lighting, and shadows. And using all this itself, right, you are able to create a rendered image or a cinematic quality video. I believe later on, my colleague Sid will cover more in his content later. On to the next slide. And now, more than ever, as we are talking with using all these different, I can say, software, we need to collaborate all this into one single silo in order for us to make sure that everything is in sync. Therefore, over here, we need to rapidly adjust to the new way of working. Like, for example, during this pandemic period, we need to work remotely from time to time, disrupted supply chain, and dramatic shift in customer demands. That's where we need to connect the team, not only within our organization, also with the external party. And this is no longer an option. Either we connect or we fail. Autodesk is helping companies to reimagine their digital manufacturing strategy. And it all starts with data at the center. Ease of use if the data management is just an add-in to your commonly used CAD or Office software. Therefore, connecting every stakeholders at every stages of your process is very important for your workflow. This is the power of connected data. And overall, it will definitely give you more actionable insight if you are able to make full use of all these data within your organization. Thank you for your attention for the D&M data design and manufacturing segment. Over to you, Sid.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this session. My name is Siddharth Balurkar, and I'm a senior solutions engineer with Autodesk Media and Entertainment. And in the next few minutes, I'll be taking you through some of the recent trends we're seeing in media and entertainment and how Autodesk solutions help studios and artists stay creative, stay on top of their games, and deliver high quality production work using Autodesk Media and Entertainment solutions. Next slide, John. So to kick it off, I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of the recent trends that we're seeing in media and entertainment. Now, in the post-COVID world, there has been a lot of disruption to the traditional way we produce our movies, our games. A lot of it has moved remote, and we've also seen many new emerging industries come up and take shape in these past couple of years. Next slide, John. Now, all of us have witnessed the content boom over the past couple of years. Numerous OTT platforms, multiple kind of levels of content that needs to be created for those platforms. And driving that is Autodesk Media and Entertainment Solutions. Most of the animation shows or VFX heavy shows that you see are being driven by Autodesk products in their production pipeline. And this is only going to get bigger. As more and more companies jump into the OTT platform race, we're going to see the need for content just go up many levels high. And studios will have to scale to keep up with the amount of work that they need to produce to deliver that content to all the users around the world. Next slide, John. Virtual production. Anyone who's seen The Mandalorian or any of the new Marvel shows on Disney Plus, they've started employing the virtual production techniques where rather than completing the VFX post the shooting schedules, they actually shoot live on set with all the VFX projected on a big screen like you see on the image out there. What this allows filmmakers to do is to be more creative on the set itself, take creative decisions as they shoot the show, which allows them for a faster time to the final end finished product. And again, Autodesk is collaborating with the partners like Epic Games and Unity to provide the necessary bandwidth for 3D data to flow into those game engines and be ready for virtual production use. Next slide, John. Now, definitely, we've seen the rise of metaverse, NFTs, AR, VR solutions. Again, with our hero products like 3D Studio Max and Maya, we're making sure that the content you create in Max, in Maya, can easily flow into the AR, VR platforms that we see out there today. We're constantly collaborating with the other companies in this space. We're making sure that we're working on open source platform like USD and Material X to for you as the artist to be able to take your data from CAD, get it into our tools like 3D Studio Max and Maya, and then take it finally into a game engine like Unity or Unreal. Next slide, John. Now, this is one of the biggest things that is taking shape today, 3D digitization in e-commerce. For those of you in the Philippines, if you aren't aware yet, Amazon has just set up a production studio in the Philippines to produce 3D content of all the products that they sell on the website. Now, last week, they announced the launch of a try-on app, actually. So you can virtually try on shoes on the Amazon app. I believe it's iOS only at this point of time. But it's a really cool piece of technology which allows you to try on shoes, see how they look virtually via your camera, your mobile phone, and kind of get a better experience of buying products online. 3D digitization in e-commerce is one of the growing trends where manufacturers are making digital copies of their 3D products and allowing people to experience them in augmented reality settings, thereby giving the users a better way to make their decisions when buying these products. Next slide, John. And finally, the media and entertainment industry, which was very averse to moving their data onto the cloud. Thanks to the compulsions of COVID, where all of us were working remotely, production in the cloud is now it's fast becoming a new norm in the media and entertainment industry. Autodesk, with the ShotGrid production platform, which allows you to manage your creative productions, do review and approval all on the cloud, is allowing studios to accelerate their movement to the cloud, thanks to the tight integrations with Maya, 3D Studio Max, and allowing studios to collaborate not just locally, but globally, thanks to the cloud capabilities that we're building in our media and entertainment solutions. Next slide. So very broadly, we divide the media and entertainment industry into three main sectors. We have film and TV production, we have game development, and then we have design visualization, which will also apply to people who are doing interior visualizations using 3D Studio Max. Now, in the next few slides, I'm going to just take you through how we address these three different segments, three main segments in the market. Next slide. So Autodesk Maya is the ultimate platform for film and TV production and game development. It allows you to create realistic worlds and characters with the best-in-class animation tool sets, and also the ability to do Hollywood-style VFX thanks to the Bifrost toolset. Now, VFX artists use Maya to create complex simulations, and with the Bifrost toolset, we're able to faster process, faster generate complex images, thanks to the complexity of data that Maya can handle. Next slide. 3D Studio Max is one of the leading visualization solutions out there. And the versatility of 3D Studio Max means that it's not just meant for visualization purposes, but also gets used in game development and film and 3D TV production. And thanks to all the wide-ranging capabilities that 3D Studio Max possesses, we're able to bring in technologies that are perhaps meant for film and TV production and give it in the hands of design visualization artists, thereby allowing them to add more realism to their design visualization projects. So whether it's complex 3D modeling or texturing and shading, thanks to the wide range of renderers that Max supports, and also the wide-ranging material library that Max supports, we've also bought in the Arnold renderer, which is available bundled with every subscription of 3D Studio Max and allows artists to do high-quality rendering when working with 3D Studio Max. Next slide. Now, Arnold is a production quality renderer that ships with 3D Studio Max and Maya. Arnold is also an Oscar Award winner for technical achievement. Most of the VFX movies that you watch, the Marvel movies that have come out in the last few years, they've used Arnold as one of their main rendering solutions to render complex effects for the TV shows and the movies that you see on screens out there. Arnold is a very user-friendly renderer and can handle large amounts of data sets, which makes it an ideal choice for creative studios out there, whether they're working on VFX shots, whether they're working on visualization scenes, or also game cinematics. Next one. And finally, we have the media and entertainment collections. When studios need the ultimate power in production, the Media and Entertainment Collection gives you access to the complete range of Autodesk tools, such as 3D Studio Max, Maya, Motion Builder, and Mudbox, that allow you to really raise your game in terms of delivering high-quality shots to your clients out there. Again, with the Autodesk collections, you also get the ability to process your Bifrost simulations on up to 15 nodes, and also 5 Arnold licenses that you can deploy as a render farm. So when you want to cut down time for your final renders, you have the ability of stringing these 5 Arnold licenses together and cutting your time drastically that it takes you to produce the final image and the final output. So that was a quick look at the Autodesk Media and Entertainment Solutions. I'm going to hand it over to John to continue for the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Sid, and good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us for this session. So again, my name is John, and I'll be just talking through about the digital transformation in construction. So what you have seen in Michelle's presentation and in Noah's explanation earlier in their previous session is that they've talked about the disruptive trends in the industry, right? Whether it's going to be in construction, manufacturing, or in the media entertainment business. So what I'm going to go through is basically how our solution has streamlined workflows in the construction space, right? Digital transformation has been one of the key drivers during this COVID and post-pandemic situation that we are in. So what I'm going to go through in the next couple of slides are how our solutions are actually built in terms of improving workflows during the design stage, during the construction phase, and after let's say the building has been constructed, or let's say a tunnel or a bridge has been completed, how it's being handed over, let's say back to the owners and to the operation side. So as what Noah has explained in his previous session is that we as an organization, we started off with a technology called AutoCAD, and primarily it's being made to actually create like 2D draft as a 2D drafting tool. And what AutoCAD has been known so far is basically is to provide and actually has dominated that space. So we have actually introduced workflows to optimize that information that was built on top of AutoCAD. So one of the workflows that we have developed in our solution is that the integration between 2D design tools and 3D applications. So if you're, let's say, an architect or a draftsman or a designer that, let's say, has created designs in 2D, you should be able to transition all this information into a 3D environment, or what we call as a BIM space, right? So building information modeling. So from AutoCAD, transitioning into Revit. So if, let's say, if you're creating a conceptual design inside of AutoCAD, you should be able to actually transmit this information into a BIM authoring platform, such as Revit. And then from here, you can link up that information from AutoCAD. And instead of like redrawing everything from, let's say, from the start, you can actually use the same set of information that you have created in AutoCAD and translate that into BIM elements, which is going to be in Revit. So there are plugins that are available. So you as an Autodesk customer, you are able or entitled for those applications that you can download at apps.autodesk.com. So this is an example of the CAD block remapper. So what it does is basically it converts 2D information from AutoCAD, and it converts that into RFA files that is embedded within Revit. So instead of, again, it saves a lot of productivity for those users out there started off in 2D. And then if, let's say, if you want to transition into BIM, there are tools that can help you transition in that space. Another example on how you can actually optimize your design process is that if, let's say, you have started off with, let's say, tools that are intended for editing purposes. So for example, if you're an interior designer, or let's say you're using AutoCAD or other platforms to design like conceptual designs. So we have tools that are available such as Formit that allows you to create conceptual designs without the heavy, let's say, editing options that are required, let's say, in other BIM applications. So what we have here is that you can easily like create designs, let's say, as for interior design space, or for example, a massing of a building. And then what you could do here is that you can bring this into the BIM application like Revit, so that you can utilize that same information that you have created from concept design, and then use that same information for detailed design. So this enables you to become more mobile, more flexible in terms of your conceptual design, or let's say during the ideation stage of your projects. And then once you go to detailed design, you can actually transition this easily with our BIM applications. Another example, some of the latest technologies that are available out there, like what Sid has explained in terms of like creating visual animations or images for your project. So this is also can be done on the fly when you're creating, let's say, an AutoCAD design, or let's say a Revit model, or let's say an Inventor file, or within 3ds Max. So what you could do with our applications is that you can start visualizing without rendering it directly, let's say whether it's going to be cloud on a server, because you can start visualizing this by using real-time visualization directly on your interface. So if you have, let's say, a good quality graphics card in your machine, you should be able to actually create like powerful images directly from the BIM application. So whether it's going to be Navisworks, whether it's going to be AutoCAD or Revit, or those Autodesk applications out there, you can create powerful rendering stuff, whether it's going to be our, let's say it's going to be through your server or using your our cloud services as well. Another example, and one of the latest trending tools that helps engineers to help optimize their design process is that using validation tools or analysis tools. So the previous example that I've shown you is primarily intended for, let's say, lighting or illuminance inside of a building. So this example is more towards infrastructure. So if, let's say, if you're in the infrastructure space, when you're trying to optimize like gradients for a specific topo, whether it's going to be for a site project or whether it's going to be a building pad of, let's say, of a particular building. So technology has evolved not only that is only intended for 2D, but it can help optimize the designs for you. So you let the application do the design iterations, and you as an engineer or as an architect or as a, let's say, as a consultant can do the validation of the results that was provided to you. So thus helping the engineer or the architect to become more efficient in the process as they design. So when we talk about design processes, of course, for the construction industry, there's a big need in terms of collaborating amongst the wider stream or the bigger team within or outside of your organization. And this is what they have observed in the construction space, right? There are many stakeholders that are involved. Every stakeholder involved, they have their own internal processes that they need to adhere to. And of course, they have to actually comply to the project requirements on how they collaborate with other stakeholders in the project. So construction space is very collaborative. It's just that there are many, many tools that are being used out there, whether it's going to be like file storage applications, cloud service applications, emails, social media applications to communicate. So every persona in a project utilizes their own different tool in terms of communicating. So that's why we have developed applications to actually help consolidate all this information. So if, let's say, if you're a BIM manager in the Philippines and you have other designers that is, let's say, which is in Davao, or let's say somewhere in Baguio, or let's say outside of the Philippines, you can start collaborating within the same common data environment, so which we call as a CDE. Thus, we have introduced our cloud applications for more than 10 years now, and the need of collaborating through cloud is much more of a need or a must-do right now. And that's how Autodesk Construction Cloud has evolved. So with Autodesk Construction Cloud, it enables teams to establish a common data environment where you can involve or invite all the different stakeholders in the project. And then from there, you can actually use this as a file repository for the entire project teams. So there's no limitation in terms of storage. So you can just simply use this as your server by itself. And then as you invite other stakeholders in the project, you can control the permissions of who can access and who can basically edit files. And as you invite different people inside the project, files that they upload and are being stored directly in the system. So all the versions that they save gets basically tracked in the system. And whenever you save different file versions, you can keep, you can actually compare different changes of what has been done on the files. And especially when we're talking about collaboration, there's a need for you to share information with other project stakeholders. So communication directly from the platform can be done, or you can send directly, like for example, issue resolutions or markups directly within the system. So what we have provided is a platform to allow everyone to collaborate in just one single environment, so that all the communications, file in documentations is stored within one place. So it supports not only BIM related files, it also supports 2D documentations and also AutoCAD files as well. So as what you have seen in Leo's presentation is that he has actually shown you the value of Navisworks to identify like potential, let's say, changes in the design. If you've seen the guy, the avatar moving around inside the building, is for you to understand if there are potential issues in terms of the space within, let's say, within the design. So if, let's say, a person will hit a wall, or for example, a ceiling height, or a head, let's say the headroom is not enough for his head to clear. So basically Navisworks could be used as a visualization tool to understand potential issues in the design. And this has been a great tool that has been used for many, many years by any contractor or consultant as well. And what has evolved is that this application has now transitioned also into the cloud, where all the communication, instead of like relying on just one single desktop to communicate, you can actually communicate directly through the cloud as well. And with the addition of add-ins, whether it's going to be in Navisworks or inside of Revit, you can track all the communications that was generated in our CDE platform, which is Autodesk Construction Cloud. So let me give you an example of how it looks like. So in this video, so what you're seeing here is our Autodesk Construction Cloud platform, where it allows you to actually check potential clashes in the design. So if, let's say, a pipe will actually hit the wall, or for example, a beam will hit the ceiling, for example, you can actually, I would say, coordinate that within Autodesk Construction Cloud. So what has changed and what has evolved is that now, instead of communicating within different applications, you can start collaborating within one single platform, so that all those issues that you have generated in Autodesk Construction Cloud or in our CDE platform can be viewed, whether it's going to be in the Revit environment or whether it's going to be in the Navisworks environment. So because every stakeholder utilizes different platform, so all of this collaboration, right, is stored within one CDE. So if, let's say, a BIM coordinator uses Navisworks, a BIM consultant uses Revit. So all those communications that they've generated will still come within one CD space, and which is going to be in Autodesk Construction Cloud. So whether every stakeholders utilizes different tools, everyone sees the same issues that was generated in the design. So it's a very good workflow that enhance team members on how they communicate with, let's say, with various issues in the design process. And within Autodesk Construction Cloud, we have actually pushed the envelope of utilizing cloud technologies at the construction site as well. So if, let's say, if you have opened, let's say, uploaded your files, let's say, in our cloud platform, you can start viewing this directly using your web browsers. You can also utilize as applications that can be stored on your mobile device, so that when you go underground, or let's say at an area that there's no internet connection, you can still continue to collaborate with other stakeholders in the project, so that you can still open up the same files that was uploaded in that, let's say, in the cloud storage space, which is in Autodesk Construction Cloud. So workflows such as taking pictures on site, or for example, creating like checklist information, all of this can be done using the Autodesk Construction Cloud mobile device. So mobile app, I mean. So all you have to do is to simply download that. You can just look for Plan Grid Build app. And once you have downloaded that and you're invited to a project, you can actually access your design information on your mobile device as well. So it's a very useful tool for other stakeholders in the project. In the event that you go on a construction site, you don't even have to actually print actual paper just to bring drawings, documentation on site. So previously you have to create you have to bring out those blueprints on the construction site, and then you have to perform markups over there. So it's really messy, right? So now technology has helped us evolve, like what Noah's mentioned. So instead of like printing blueprints, now we're actually utilizing mobile devices to actually access that design information that led us to this point. So the last point that I just want to highlight in this session is that how technology has evolved in terms of automating some of the workflows that we conduct on a day-to-day process. So one of the technologies that are available in our portfolio is you can also create your own visual scripting, meaning if you're an engineer, or let's say an aspiring engineer, let's say if you're a student out there and you're an enthusiast of programming, you can start picking up skill sets like Dynamo. So what does Dynamo do? So Dynamo is a visual programming application that helps you automate manual tasks in applications such as in Revit or Civil 3D or other Autodesk applications that it has integration with, to create a visual logic routine, so that if there's any things that you need to manually, let's say, perform, you can actually just hit that play button like that I've shown you in my video. So it actually helps us to play that, let's say, that script to, let's say, execute that particular command. So it's very useful in terms of like creating for geometry creation or automation, like for example, creating elements, or for example, creating properties that you want to apply for a project. So Dynamo is a very useful tool for that portion. And what we have evolved also from traditional design authoring tools, we are actually pushing the envelope in terms of providing generative solutions. Meaning we are moving into option generation and design optimization and moving into machine learning as well. So I'll just share with you some examples of what I mean about option generation and design optimization in Autodesk. So within Autodesk, we have this tool which is on top of the Revit application called Generative Design. So as what Michelle and Noah has explained in their previous sessions, is that we have tools that enable you to actually automate the generation of different design iteration, and it helps architects and engineers to decide on what is the best outcome on their design intent. So this is now available starting in Revit 2020, and it can help you optimize your design process and create different design iterations with your actual Revit project. So to give you an example of that information, so what you can do is that with generative design, so once you have created a Dynamo script, you can actually load this particular Dynamo script inside generative design. And as you actually create or run that project, you can specify what would be your inputs, what would be your constraint, and basically your goals inside the project. And then what generative design will do is that it will help you optimize or create different design iterations based on the constraints that you have defined. And then finally, once you have decided, okay, what is the best outcome for your design, all you have to do is to specify, okay, what I want to actually utilize in my project, and then it will automatically update basically the project for you, right? So there are tools that can help you optimize, randomize, or for example, like this, right? So there are different algorithms that is embedded within the application that helps you to calculate all these different design iterations. And what has evolved now is that all these programs, or I would say scripts that you have generated, you can play it as like a player inside Autodesk Revit, so that whenever you create like different design scenarios, all you have to do is to specify, okay, which outcome that I would like to select, and then there's an option for you to generate that Revit elements inside your project. So as for my final example, so we have also automated some of the workflows once you have completed the construction project. So meaning once you have completed the design, so what, right? So what would be the benefit for the owners? So for the owners or developers out there, if let's say if you have received like BIM projects or BIM models, let's say from your consultants or for example from your contractors, you can start utilizing that information for facilities and operation maintenance. So we have launched this application called Tandem starting last year. So what it enables owners and developers is that they have a digital twin platform for all the let's say the projects that they work on. So if let's say a BIM model has been delivered to you, right, and you want to utilize all the design information that was provided during the design. So what you can do is that you can utilize Tandem to group all the design information that was provided to you for easy tracking and also for finding relevant information or content. It could be maintenance records, or for example, like specification sheets or material handling sheets. So all this information can be uploaded in the system. So this system is actually hosted on the cloud. So it enables you to actually utilize that information so that if you want to utilize this for operations and maintenance, you can start linking this directly from there. So finding information of where there's hosted at, whether it's going to be a fire hydrant or an air terminal or a mechanical pump inside the building, it's easier to visualize when it is 3D rather than relying on a 2D sheet of paper. So this comes to the end of my session. So I just want to wrap up that, you know, when we're talking about digital transformation in the construction industry, it doesn't stop from only during the design stage. What we intend in terms of BIM is that you can utilize the same level of data or information that could be used on downstream operations as well, whether it's going to be for fabrication or for operations or, for example, construction work. So BIM could be used not only in the design process, but also in the operations and the construction side of things. So I would say I'll just leave the statement that the BIM is actually the foundation of digital transformation in the built environment. So to wrap up, if you have any questions or queries, we have a team of celebrities here from VST ECS team and also with the Autodesk team that you can actually ask for any questions related to a particular industry.